We'll start over here. I'm going to move on to point labels in a second. A tip when we're labeling capital cities such as Boston, Montpelier, Salt Lake City, etc. Horizontal alignment, that's default. We want them all to be flat. We want to use default character spacing. When we label a point, we never kern. All right? And best position is up and to the right. What do I mean by that? So if you are labeling this point, generally the best place to put it is here. So if you're labeling Austin, Texas, and this is Austin's point, you want to put the label just raised a little bit up and to the right. Okay, that's the best cartographic convention. If you cannot do it up and to the right, you go up and to the left. If there's another conflict there, like another state border or something, then we try down and to the right, and so forth, right? So think about that. Try to make it all uniform. So this should be your first choice for every capital, whether you're talking about Austin or Montpelier, second and third, and so forth. In some cases, you don't want to stick to that convention, though, because you get confusing things, as we see here. So think about that. Generally, GIS tries to label points, and this is what happens if you try to go into ArcGIS and have them label points, as Jeff knowingly nods. So labeling points is very difficult. A couple other guidelines. This is really detailed presentation, but use all uppercase for polygons. So if you're labeling Texas, capital T, capital E, capital X, and then upper lower for points. And you'll see this on any map. Now that I've taught you, if you go to National Geographic and you look at the Portugal label, it'll be all uppercase, and the Lisbon label will be upper lower. So it's this typographic variable that cues our subconscious into identifying, oh, that's a city and that's a country label. So if you have all of your states labeled in lowercase or upper lower right now, I'll show you a quick way to change that. So I'm in my Illustrator window. And these are all uppercase, but I'm going to change them to upper lower just to show you how to do that. So I've selected 3 of them. And in my type window, my type menu here, I can go to change case and go to lowercase. And that's wrong, of course, so I'm going to change that back. So if you currently have upper lower, this is what I'd recommend doing for your state labels, is select them all, go to your type menu, go to the change case option and select uppercase. Then when we're working with our title or our cap type layer, we can use upper lower. All right? So let's work with labeling these bizarre capitals. You guys all have the internet. If you don't know that the capital of California is Sacramento, you can find that. Or you can just make up your own names. But the point is to learn how to set type on a map so it's legible and clearly identifying the thing that it's referring to. So I'm going to work for a few minutes up here. You can watch me. And then I'll come around and work with each of you. Oh, here's another thing I want to show you. This will save you thousands of minutes if you do this for a few years. Keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts. Do I have your attention? So I have my arrow tool active. Let's say I want to zoom in because I'm going to work with California. I can hit the hourglass or the magnifying glass tool, or I can just over here anywhere, one hand, not touching the mouse, hit the Z button, and now I have my magnifying glass tool, right? And so that allows me to drag a box around California, and now I'm looking at California. Now I want to type the word California, so I'm going to hit the T button again, one hand. Watch the icon right to the west of Santa Barbara there. Now I have my type tool, and I'm going to type California in all uppercase letters, of course. Now I'm going to hit escape, and what tool is going to become active? My arrow tool. So now I can just go there. So I am not playing with the mouse much at all. I want to add the Sacramento label now, so what letter do I hit? T, left click, and now I have my Sacramento label ready to go. And that's upper lower, and I'm going to try to put it there. I don't like that. Why?
Because it's going over Reno.
It's going over Reno, or Carson City.
Or Carson City.
So I'm going to move that to the right. And that's better. T, caps lock Nevada, escape. Now let's label Carson City. T, click. I have my caps locked on. A couple of little cartographic tricks while I have you for typography. These are important. So if you are labeling a feature to the right of the feature, you want to have left justified type. If you are labeling to the right, you want a right justifier type like this, which is obviously a bad move because now my Carson City label is in California. But you see how the right justified works with that setup, with that relationship of the label. So I'm going to put Carson City over here. I'm going to move my Nevada label up here. Another thing with Carson City, and you guys are going to have this when you label New Mexico, North Dakota, New York, is you're going to have two lines of type a lot. So with my window type panel up, remember that Control T, the default leading, in other words, the default line spacing on this particular Carson City label is too much. So oftentimes in cartography we want to get away with a little less of that line spacing. So how do I change that? By default it's set to 9.6 type as a function of the type size I'm using, which is 8 point. So I want to bring this down to 8 point. And you can see how the two lines got closer together. I'm going to even go down to 7 point. And that makes that label a little better. And I can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to really fine-tune the placement of that label. Okay, Nevada, perfect candidate for a little bit of kerning. So I'm going to add 100 points of kerning, or 100% of kerning to that. Okay, so I know it's tedious, but this will help you learn how to make maps in Illustrator for your future projects.